used to. But at times I need time to understand what really matters in such. The reason that we're meeting here this morning, as you join us, with me the issue of the and that really affects and running issues such as this, the famous issue I have with me, Hayford, he and right after the we'll be back to introduce properly. Stay tuned.
Business Television Africa is your television network that provides you with quality programs, innovation and technology to advance the African dream and the high quality of life. On Business Television Africa, you get to hear true stories of business people in Africa and in the world. BTA is in French.
J'aime regarder Business Television Africa.
And English. You can watch Business Television Africa via satellite or on First Digital Box.
Mr. Kessler Hayford, you're welcome to On the Banner.
Thank you very much.
I believe this is the first time and it's not going to be the last time though. Much is being heard. It's become a household name now. Mr. Kessler Hayford, Mr. Kessler Hayford, Mr. Kessler Hayford. Please can you just introduce yourself? Who is Mr. Kessler Hayford? What's your background?
Oh, I am a chartered accountant by profession.
Okay.
I worked with Deloitte in Ghana, then went to the UK, worked with Deloitte there. I have worked intermittently with the World Bank, with the IFC, and I've done quite a lot of private sector work.
Okay.
So my background is purely financial. I'm a chartered accountant and I'm a CPA, the equivalent in the US. So it's all part of the accountancy profession. And that's what I really do.
Okay.
I'm a financial analyst by profession. I do a lot of consulting for small, medium enterprises. And apart from that, these days I'm an anti-corruption crusader as well.
That's fine.
So that's part of my brief.
Oh, I see. Are you a politician?
Not at all.
I'm asking this question because most of the time when people tend to criticize government institutions and all that, you know, there's some kind of colorization. People think that you are here or you are there. That is why I'm asking.
Well, when the NPP was in power, I was anti-NPP. When the NDC came into power, I'm anti-NDC. So that's the way it goes. I don't speak to any particular partisan issue. I speak against government. I think that our governance is poor and it needs to be fixed. So irrespective of who is in power, I speak my mind. So depending on which party is in power, I'm tagged as opposition to that particular party. But I don't understand politics. I've never been able to get involved in any political club or any political group. So I just carry on as I can and,
is it because,
and do what I think.
Is it because you buy the idea that politics is not a very nice game to play, so you don't want to get involved? Because people expect people like you to get involved mainstream and perhaps help the work of governance directly, not indirectly.
No, but I don't know why people would expect me to do that. I'm a very, very outspoken, very, very blunt person.
Is that why you don't want to do mainstream politics?
I think
because you think that with a party card you will not be able to critique your own party.
Not really, but I think the party will sack me very quickly if I.
You'll feel uncomfortable.
They will feel uncomfortable.
Indirectly, you seek to say that the issue of politics is dirty.
No, not necessarily.
And they will not accommodate the truth.
No, not necessarily. No, I'm saying that. Politicians prefer that they say things in a particular style, in a particular way, in this country, so far as I can see.
It's changing though. Well, you have the Canadian Japans ambassading their own parties, you have the Bagbeans and all that. I think the trend is changing.
They are isolated examples. You've named about 2 or 3 people. You can probably name about 5 or 6 people.
Is it not something to encourage?
Well, it is to be encouraged, and I think it's nice to hear them saying those things. But back to me and whether or not I want to get into politics, the answer is no. I think that I will say I will say things in a way in which my political friends will not appreciate. I will probably accept an appointment of sorts, which, if it will give me independence in what I can do, I'll be happy with that.
But will you resign with all the perks of,
Oh yes,
government?
I will
If you have your cruisers, beautiful, whatever,
Sure.
and then you're given an appointment, because many a time I know people shut up when they are given appointments.
I don't think I can do that, and maybe that's what will cause the problem. Because if I have a problem, let's say for example, I'm not getting funding in my ministry, and it is holding back my program and what I have committed to be doing, I will probably be the first to go public and go and tell the whole country what is going wrong and why I'm not getting my money. It won't matter to me that my government...
You will not have respect for the party structures to address such issues? Will you just go public?
No, I think the party structures, if they are going to hold you down from achieving your key objective as you've been tasked to achieve, then I'm not interested.
There's always a slogan, don't wash your dirty linen in public. And that is what all the parties believe in.
It's one slogan. I can quote you several other slogans that say the opposite to what the slogan says. So slogans are okay, but they are convenient at the time when you need them.
I'm sure during the MPP era, when you were critiquing or whatever appropriate word it must be, many believed you were perhaps on the other side, NDC at the time.
Absolutely, yes.
And I'm sure now people think that those who did not follow that will think that you're speaking for the other side, the minority.
And I get that comment and that confrontation every day.
How do you feel?
I don't care.
No sense of insecurity?
It's not true, so it doesn't matter to me. The truth of the matter is, I criticize government. I criticize whoever is running a program, whoever is trying to do things and they're not doing it properly. I will talk about it. So it doesn't matter to me that people tag me with one or the other, because I know that that's not what I am and that's not what I'm doing.
What's the fundamental source of motivation? I mean, your orientation. What makes you act this way?
I think I have a legacy. I have an inheritance handed down from my great-grandfather. He was a champion of fighting rights. He was a member of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. He also set up the Congress of British West Africa. And by and large, he fought for justice for the Ghanaian. I didn't set out to do that because of who he is, but I've found that over time I am uncomfortable with issues that don't seem to be fair and just. So anything that looks like the citizen is being deprived of his or her convenience, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm fighting for myself as well. I'm not sitting back and being, altruistic and saying that, this is for my fellow Ghanaian. No, Sydney is looking after Sydney as well. So if my lights are not on and my water is not flowing and my criminal courts are not working, my civil courts, my commercial courts, and I have injustice, I feel deprived of what I could do. I think that I deserve a lot more in this world. I've lived abroad many years of my life. I've spent many years in England. I've spent many years in the United States. I've spent some time in South Africa. And I can see what you can get when there is progress. And I want that progress.
So you have a comparative analysis of the places you've been to as against us?
Constantly in my head. All the time.
I think we can do better.
Oh, we can do far, far better than we have. And there are pockets of examples.
To set our main discussion rolling, there is this perception, maybe, because I'm not an expert in that area, people like Dr. Indum have said that if we plug the holes of corruption, we could be saving about 1.2 billion, and I think it's an exaggeration. True or false?
I think he has underestimated. Exactly how easy it is to walk across from one border to the other in this economy. If you go to the western region, if you visit Elubu and you drive up from Elubu, you look at the borders, you will appreciate how it is to just get a headload of cocoa and walk it across the border. Don't attract any taxes, so they escape the realm of income taxes and corporate taxes and levies and other issues. So you don't see all that. Then there's all the amount of smuggling of gold and diamonds and everything else that goes on in the country. There's the under-invoicing of timber, which happens all the time. And our ports bringing things into Tema, into Takrad, is so poor and so undermanaged that it is so easy for people to go and just bribe officials and get their goods coming in at a far cheaper rate than they should be. There are cars coming into the country, and there are schemes and scams regarding the way people actually bring their cars in, have them deliberately impounded, auctioned, and they go and buy it at 1/3 of the price. All of these things are going on. So you find it very difficult, all right, to even estimate exactly how much is going on in that sphere. And then there are so many other things else, you know, work that people get paid for abroad and the money gets kept outside. People who open offshore accounts and they have the money deposited there even though they're doing work here, which escapes the tax bracket. And all of that is corruption. Even in the president's office, there are exemptions to imported items which are brought at the discretion of the office of the presidency. It's a lot of money. And we only see a fraction of it because of what we see that is reported either by the budget, which is a waste of time anyway, and then the Auditor General's report, which actually gives you a better picture of the quantum of the amount of waste that goes through the system. So I think there's a lot more in there, and I think we can do ourselves a lot better.
At capacity as what?
I was invited. Yes.
Your
I didn't take any recognition for anything. I just got a letter of invite. It was on a green sheet of paper
good.
that said I'm welcome to come and participate in the 4-day event at the Senchi Resort for the
Did it make any meaning to you?
No, and I was quick to offer before the event at Senchi that I agree with the MPP should not come, and I did say on air boldly that if I happen to be a member of the MPP, I wouldn't go, because the whole thing is a nonsense. When I am in opposition to you, I'm trying to replace you as government. Then you announce that you're having a national economic forum, and you invite me to come and contribute my ideas to how to solve an economic crisis which you
Is that
created.
not an unhealthy competition when we talk about love for one's country? Yes. From what you're saying.
The love for my
There are always
country.
alternatives. So under every circumstance, you could have, you know, the other side could have just come in, because they were doing it indirectly. I mean, prompting to look here and there.
Yes.
With the Baumia address and all that.
And not only Baumia, but a lot of us who are critical commentators of economic issues have said many times, and we've listed several times on the issues that have to be addressed, which will solve the economic problem. So it's not like as if government hasn't had enough and advice from other persons.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make, which is what you're trying to convert into an anti-nationalistic issue, is this. It is not anti-nationalistic, because we have in this country what we consider to be adversarial politics.
Okay.
We are adversaries in everything we do on the political realm.
Right.
And it has come like that because we have a first past the post system. I want to come in and give you my ideas and my program and my plan. I want to run this government and leave a legacy of achievement at the end of the day. Now, you come into power from one reason or the other, you create an economic mess.
Yeah.
And the whole thing becomes a big brouhaha and a challenge. And then you invite me to come and help you to fix the mess. So that when I help you to fix the mess, you will stay in power, because you're going to go to the electorate and say, hey, look at what we have achieved. And then I, who probably contributed as much as you did to fix the mess, I'm sitting outside, I don't get the chance to replace you. Logically, nobody would do that. Not in the competitive
does this
environment.
not erode the issue of a national agenda where all our ideas feed or focus on?
Well, I happen to think that that concept of a national agenda is a waste of time. You cannot go and sit together, irrespective of how many groups you have, decide that this is a national agenda. So when I come into power, I have to follow the national agenda. When you come into power, you have to follow the national agenda. So what's the point in changing
But
that?
it exists. Whatever the NDC started, whatever it started, the MPP came to continue in recent times. Free food for the schools, name them. NHIS, National Identification System, though they've not been able to, whatever. And right now, there's even a blame on the single spine, which the Kufu administration
started. Yes.
So indirectly, or that, don't we have even an already existing national agenda? Because it's all about the same critical
No, the
areas.
the constitution specifically says that there should be continuity
Okay.
from one changeover to the other in
Alright.
order not to disrupt programs.
Okay.
But if I come into power and I decide to do a school feeding program,
Yeah.
or I decide to do a free SHS program, you happen not to agree with me because you don't think that that's necessary. And you say it is not the free that is important, it's the quality that is important. And so you come into power and you are forced to do free when you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
You won't do it properly. You will hold back, you will stop the funding, and you will do
Our
something
political
else.
parties confuse them because during the campaign era, the MPP wanted to come up with the free education.
Sure.
NDC rubbished it.
Yes.
There was some tidying up later on.
Yes.
And now the president seems to campaign for free education.
Yes.
I mean, like we just discussed, are the politicians, not mainstream politicians, are they confused?
Yes, they are confused, and this what you're saying is a clear case of a bankruptcy of ideas. One party came in and said free education. The NDC party could clearly see that this was a good idea, and they tried to fight it in many ways. They tried to come up with all sorts of reasons why, and they debunked it. Now they win the election, but they knew in their gut at the end of the day that this was a good idea. All we needed to figure out was how were we going to fund it.
Yeah.
Come into power and realize that it was a good idea. Now they steal the thunder by announcing that implementing in 2015, and therefore the wind wind in the sail of the MPP.
Yeah.
Now there's nothing. You see, there's nothing. But I can refine it a little and distinct it so that I can also carry it out because I think it's a good idea. It's politics, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's a smart political move because it's difficult now for the MPP to come up with something else akin to free education. They need to see the clear distinction between what the NDC is going to bring up and what they can bring up. Luckily, they will have the opportunity because the NDC has to announce its version of free SHS in 2015 as promised by the president, that it will be a line item in the budget. Then they'll have to flesh it out in their manifesto, which gives the MPP the opportunity to see what it's like. NPP will also have an opportunity to see how they will roll that program out, at least for the first year. So in 2016, when it's an election year, they might come up with refinements or they might come up with something completely different. So it's a good political chess game, and it's in level.
Well, let's get to our main item, talking about the SUBA issue.
Yes.
If somebody just tuned and is watching for the first time, what's SUBA thing about? Let's summarize what it is and your expectation.
Okay, there are two SUBA issues.
Okay.
Are there not?
Yeah.
One that has to do with the electronic monitoring
of the
telcos.
Yeah.
And then there's a second recent one that has taken place, which is the motorbike issue.
And the
naming of the streets.
Yeah.
But let's say this. The naming of the streets is not being done by SUBA.
Okay.
SUBA is just being paid on that particular one for the delivery of motorcycles.
Yeah.
So that's a different matter
Right.
altogether. So let's take that first, then we'll do the electronic one secondly. SUBA is supposed to have responded to a proposal to deliver motorbikes by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and they ended up winning a contract. They bid for it and they won for it, according to the Ministry of Local Government. Now, the contract has two variations. One member of the government says that it was done by competitive tender. Another said it was done by restricted tender. So right now we don't know which is which. Now, it just so happens that SUBA,
so the manner of even with
is questionable at that time, which we just discovered this morning, because we had a conversation with Murtala Mohammed on City FM, and he came up with all sorts of other scenarios. And then we've heard another minister, the spokesperson or the communication person at the Ministry of Local Government, saying something different. So we need to go back to that and contradictory statements, certainly diametrically opposite statements. One is saying open tender, the other one is saying restricted tender. So we need to figure out which is which. That's number one. The other thing also is that SUBA is known to be an information technology company, and therefore, according to its rules and regulations and its memorandum of understanding, on the face of it, it should really not be venturing into delivering or winning a contract for motorcycles. However, there are some fine details in company law that might allow it to be able to bid on that particular project. they've already delivered the motorcycles, and therefore the contract is complete.
Okay.
So you can't go back and challenge the thing on the basis of what we would call an ultra-virus issue, because SUBA is not, in its regulations, allowed to carry on the business of buying and selling motorcycles.
Okay.
So that's a separate issue. Now, how much did the motorcycles cost? We heard from Baba Jamal, the Deputy Minister of Information, that they bid for 216 motorcycles, which was across the MMDAs.
Okay.
Now, 216 motorcycles accounts for about one motorcycle per every district.
Yeah.
One motorcycle per every district. Now, he couldn't tell what the cost of the motorcycle was per unit, and he couldn't tell us what the total cost of the contract was that was given to SUBA. We don't know. The Ghana Integrity International, GII, actually went on the procurement website, procurement authority website, and found that the total cost for all of this was in the region of about 6 million cedis. Now, what we have to do now is to figure out whether that 6 million was actually directly the cost of the motorbikes, or whether there was other things else. But the fact of the matter is, SUBA Information Systems name was not found on any of the procurement issues on the procurement authority websites.
What does that mean?
Well, yes, it means two things. If it was a restricted contract, then you probably wouldn't find them there. But if it was an open tender, then you should find them there.
Okay.
And that information is on the website, which it wasn't. So somebody at the Ministry of Local
Government,
not there,
yeah. From inference, it means that it was what? A restricted
contract.
Yes.
But it could also be, though, that the person who was responsible for posting that information onto the procurement authority website has not done their job.
Right.
So that's different.
Okay.
However, on the procurement website, that contract for motorcycles, the 6 million I'm referring to, the contract for motorcycles, was awarded to a company called De Lovely Limited.
Okay.
DE Lovely Limited. Now, we don't know who that company is. So next week we're going to try and find out exactly who that company is and who owns that company, so we can make a decision. So that's
the Lovely Company Limited. What role do they play? Can you repeat that? Just for clarity.
Their name shows up on the Ghana Procurement Authority's website as a company that was awarded a contract to supply motorcycles.
But they did not end up supplying?
We don't. That is what we don't know.
What is in the media domain is SUBA delivered.
That's why I say we are actually no. I'm not saying the two contracts are related.
Okay.
Let me get it clear.
Okay.
On the one hand, SUBA Infosystems is nowhere listed in the Ghana Procurement Authority website as having delivered motorcycles. That's a separate thought.
Yeah.
The company that is listed as having delivered motorcycles to the 2 million cedis, which is 16 De Lovely Limited.
Okay.
All right. We don't know who De Lovely Limited is, and we don't know who owns De Lovely Limited.
Okay.
So we are now going to find out just this afternoon, this morning. So next week we'll find out exactly who owns De Lovely Limited and who they are, and whether this contract for delivery of motorcycles is related to this particular SUBA one. So we need to see whether there is a connection. So that whole procurement is questionable at this stage. As to who, I can tell you is that SUBA, together with a company called Street Naming Ghana Limited, happened to be in the Jospon group.
Okay.
Okay, so they all belong to Jospon. So what we have asked the Ministry of Local Government to give to us is a copy of the contract document, who these three companies were who were listed in the restricted bid, if there was a restricted bid, and we'd like to know who owns those companies. Because
is that important? Who owns the companies?
It's absolutely important, because if there's a tender for procurement, and four companies were shortlisted. One of them was dropped, or one of them pulled out because they said they couldn't deliver. So there were 3 companies left. If all 3 companies belong to one company or to one person, then you can start inferring that the contract was not done properly. Because whoever looked at the tender bid at the time should have asked the question, who owns these companies, and should have asked to be given a copy of all the registration documents of this company. If it turns out that they were all owned by the Jospon group, or they were all in the Jospon group, what it suggests is that the contract was going to one person.
Which is not fair.
Which would be sole sourcing, and that would be against the procurement rules and against the procurement law. So we are trying to unravel that one.
Under what circumstance can sole sourcing be done?
Sole sourcing has
Just
specific
to
rules
get some clarity
in the
on
law.
this issue.
Broadly off the top of my head, there has to be something in there that says that the delivery of that particular contract can only be done by this particular company because of a specialism area that they have.
Okay.
It also has to be that maybe the time frame for delivery is so short that it can only be done by this particular company. Before you do that, procurement authority have to ensure that all of these criteria are in place. I've forgotten how many different items they have to do, but there are certainly a lot of steps that have to be.
The circumstances should prove that you deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. To be sole sourced.
Yes.
All right. Now we come to the second part.
Let's come to the second one. The second one is an old one now.
Yeah.
It's the contract to SUBA, Ghana Revenue Authority, to monitor the revenues of telcos and whether telcos were under declaring the amount of money that they were collecting. The contract was supposed to be done in a very, very simple way, that SUBA Info Solutions will be allowed to put monitoring equipment in the telcos, how should I say, their engine.
A node or whatever on there.
And every time that they submit revenues, they would be able to assess whether or not they have declared the right amount of money. Okay, when the contract was awarded, law that governs the monitoring was not in place.
Okay.
So SUBA Info Solutions actually started off doing a monitoring exercise before they even put their equipment in the telcos offices.
Right.
So prior to that point, they took information on a CD-ROM and they analyzed that information. Okay, but the contract was specific that they would have to put nodes in the telcos offices. So prior to that period, there was no contract per se, but SUBA Info Solutions was paid for that period of time, for the work that they did in that period of time, when there was no contract in place. And
what they were doing then means that specifically what they were asked to do, that is putting the node on whatever systems are available, was not done.
Yes, it could not be done because they hadn't put the nodes in there.
They had a contract, but once the nodes were not fixed,
then you didn't really have a contract.
You did not have a contract.
Yes, but they were paid.
But that is debatable, though.
It's not debatable.
But if you contract me to do something, excuse me, I have my span of time. Has this not sort of things led to payment of what financial debt because you contract me to do something, and I've gotten my equipment, whatever, and the situation pertaining does not even allow me to work. Time is money. Don't I have to be paid for that?
No. If I contract you to do something specific, and I say that what you have to do is to make sure that this piece of equipment will work. All right. And then you've imported the piece of equipment, and the equipment hasn't arrived yet, but you say, oh, we can still do the work, even though we'll do it manually. And I say to you, hold on, this thing has to be done.
The key word is if you are told to hold on.
Yes.
If you're not told to hold on,
and you are
then you are contracted and you ought to start work. That's the difference.
In this case, you are told to hold on because there is no law. The law is what triggers your work.
Okay.
All right, and the law is very clear.
Okay.
Then there is a contract.
Okay.
And the contract also clearly stipulates what needs to be done. So the contract says you must have nodes set up, and you don't have nodes. Okay. So you're not really in contract.
The issue, was it about not having nodes or not being allowed to plant the nodes?
The telcos were reluctant. And if I was a telco, I would just be equally reluctant. You ask somebody to come in and install equipment in the heart of my business, my engine, all right? I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they're going to use the information for. I have no law to be able to accept or refuse them to do this. You tell me, because you are a regulatory agency, in this case, you are a revenue authority, you say that you must do this. And I ask you the question, can you please tell me under what law you are coming to actually do this? If you run a business and somebody comes up and says, oh, okay, right now you're running the business, but I'm going to come and put a clerk, all right, in your company. And every time you send an invoice out, he's going to make a copy of that invoice and send it to me, all right, so I can see how much revenue you're making. the first thing you will say is, my friend, please, Fawasem Kowechi, I don't want to hear this nonsense. Because it is nonsense. Why would I allow anybody who I don't know who that person is?
So there has to be an introduction.
There has to be a proper introduction and a contract, because if you come in and you put something into my establishment...
And the contract is not between the telcos and SUBA. The contract is between GRA and SUBA.
And GRA really have no law.
So there's an illegal issue here.
There's an illegal issue here. And the fact of the matter is, what right do you have to come and tap into my system? If you do something wrong and you mess up my system for some reason, maybe some software, a virus hits my system or something, who is going to pay for it? Where is the liability? All right? Who is actually responsible for messing up my system, and who will pay for it?
Is that why the telecommunications chamber is saying that formally they did not know anybody?
Yes. Yes.
So therefore, is the problem with SUBA or the person who awarded the contract, which is GRA, not doing their work properly?
It's with both.
Because SUBA cannot just go introduce. You have to lead me on.
Sure.
For example, this afternoon I met you, I know you, but formally I couldn't approach you to my producer who had contacted you. I told her, go see Mr. Keslehevo and formally introduce him that he's on my program, though I know you and we talk.
Sure.
So why do we blame SUBA, not GRA?
So if at that time, I am blaming GRA as well, don't get me wrong. There's an issue with the GRA thing as well. So if in your scenario you then come to me and say, oh, Mr. Keslehevo, my name is Emmanuel, Sharon, whatever it is, and you're going to be on my program, and so please tell me who you are. I don't know you.
Yeah.
I never met you before.
I didn't give you an invitation.
Yeah. Are you Eunice?
Yeah, I'm not Eunice.
Exactly. So I would
unless I choose to be a
hermaphrodite. Unless you choose
anyway, that's on the lighter note.
Unless you choose to cross dress. It's an interesting lighter note.
Yes, yes. Anyway.
My imagination is going somewhere else.
You know.
I can see you with some earrings.
Yeah. Hot there. Let's get a serious issue though.
So I will turn you away.
Okay.
And I have every right to turn you away.
Okay.
Until, like you said, there's been a formal introduction with there. So I can then complain that, you know something, this gentleman came to me and approached me in a manner that I thought was unprincipled.
All right.
And I can make a formal proposal and explain why I turned you away.
Okay.
So I have a right to do that. And I'll blame Eunice for doing so. So that's where the blame on the GRA comes. That the GRA should have done this thing properly from the get-go. But GRA not only did not do it properly, they also paid the people in advance. They paid them the money to recover a certain amount of understated revenues. Now, here's my issue. GRA paid about 74 million CDs to SUBA for work that it did during this period before SUBA could actually put the nodes in place to do the right monitoring. Good. So now, SUBA is paid for work that I consider illegal, not contracted.
All right.
So that's one issue. So who at GRA, knowing very well that this was not the case? So that's a problem. Then you have another issue, and that issue is also quite important, that having paid them 13.5%, excuse me,
you can take a sip, please,
of the total value of under-disclosed revenues, it implies that the telcos have been under-declaring the revenues.
Which is no fault of theirs.
It is their fault.
Because there were no nodes planted.
No. We actually paid SUBA because we agreed with SUBA, because SUBA made the claim that we have determined that these people have under-declared of so much.
All right.
On that basis, we paid them 13.5% of the total recovery that they discovered. Having got that money to them now, we are therefore implying, GRA is therefore saying that we agree with you that there's been under-declaration. From everything you have sent me, the documentation you have given me, we agree with you that there's been under-declaration. So we are asking the telcos to therefore do the right thing. We are going to recover that extra money, of which you will get 13.5%.
All right.
That means that the telcos are guilty of under-declaring their revenue. In that case, they have tried to defraud the people of Ghana. Specifically, the tax laws have been breached. They have simply under-declared their taxes. And under declaring or not paying your taxes by evading your taxes is illegal in this country. So the telcos by default, because we paid SUBA, also are part of this problem. And they should also be sanctioned and fined and done.
A lot of people, I mean, both GRA, I mean,
yes.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Are not doing things properly.
No, they are not. So you've got the mobile operators, SUBA Infosystems and GRA. But taking it forward again, the Ministry of Finance instructs that there should be a committee, and that committee must be set up to investigate the contract arrangements between SUBA and GRA. Okay. Then the committee that is set up has members from the GRA on the committee, has members from SUBA on the committee, and then there are members from the Ministry of Finance. So the two guilty parties, or the two parties who are in the contract, which contract we are examining in order to make sure that the contract was correct and appropriate and
transparent,
right, are sitting on the committee. How are you ever going to come out with anything to indict them?
Credible.
They are going to be a part of the discussions.
The player is the referee.
Absolutely. And I heard the person who was chairman of the committee say that SUBA Infosystems were not there all the time, but they were there enough time.
What was their role on the investigation?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and if you look at the committee's report, all right, to say that this is what our findings are, it has the names of people who from SUBA and names of people from the GRA.
Take a sip and I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm glad for a sip.
Do you know that there are more successful people in Ghana today than before? Well, that is the truth, and the secret is in prudent financial planning with the right financial manager. You need to know the right fund manager who spends your money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 4 weeks in a month, and 12 months in a year. That manager is at Gold Coast Fund Management. At Gold Coast, your money never sleeps. It revolves every second to give you more money for use when you really need it. For the past 21 years, Gold Coast Fund Management has held a strong reputation of spending people's money to beat inflation, depreciation, and treasury bill rates. Put your money to work. Move from savings to investment. Pay your investment tithe into the Gold Fund and Gold Money Market Fund, and be assured that when you are in need, you can turn to them to resolve your financial problems. Gold Coast Fund Management. Investment advice worth weight in gold.
The Television Africa is your television network that provides you with quality programs, innovation and technology to advance the African dream and the high quality of life. On Business Television Africa, you get to hear true stories of business people in Africa and in the world. BTA is in French.
J'aime regarder Business Television Africa.
And English. You can watch Business Television Africa via satellite or on First Digital Box.
On the mountain itself, you will see the vegetation is very good, and on top of the
African Business Talk analyzes Africa's business development and how policies and initiatives affect the lives of the African. The talk aims at opening opportunities for industry as well as sound trade culture practices between business owners and entrepreneurs in continental Africa and in the diaspora. Don't miss it as we engage think tanks, businessmen and women, entrepreneurs, chief executives, innovators and people who have worked to transform countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, Benin, Togo, South Africa, Botswana, Egypt, and many other African economies. The African Business Talk, live on Business Television Africa.
You're welcome back on the banner, having a very hearty discussion session as Mr. Kesley Hayford. He loves to be called Sydney, financial consultant or expert, let me put it that way. But just to remind you, supported by Gold Coast Securities. Gold Coast Fund Management is a reputable fund management that has won 2 awards as the best financial advisory company 2011-2012. The only investment bank that has branches. You should invest with Gold Coast Fund Management for a good return. Call them 0124993. Let me pick the numbers again. 050-129-4893. First National Savings and Loans, they've also been supporting. Post Bank, First National Savings and Loans Bank, and beautiful ambience hotel, they've also been supporting this program. You can also send your messages to our WhatsApp line 050-62 06290-721. Questions and comments. Few comments here. This is no name Bernal from Accra. I love your program. Thank you. And the message. Let me take this. Oh, I think the Press NDC just came to power to spend the money left by the MPP. I don't know if there was any money left because I heard it's been eaten to the bone. The NDC do not have any direction as to what to do with the economy. We, the good people of Ghana, will have to advise ourselves coming 2016 by Malik from afternoon. And Malik, didn't the NC educate the General Telecom Company before inviting SUBA to start work? The way the government is to waste the taxpayers' money. The president is to sit up, seek advice from experts before doing anything. There are a lot of experts do. If you care to know, we just okay. I think hi. Let's go on. I'll read. We go on. Welcome back to On the Banner. I have with me Mr. Kesley Hayford. Mr. Kesley Hayford, beautiful explanation, though some of the issues I believe the mainstream politicians will be contesting. But I want to find out, are we willing to do the right thing in this country to ensure we do not misappropriate or misuse our scarce resources?
I don't think so.
Because with the explanation you gave, it's like people take things for granted in the way they conduct government business.
Whenever you try to answer that question, the politicians blame each other for what they say, the mess that was created. You can, as far as Kwame Nkrumah's time, and say that despite Nkrumah had good vision and good ideas, his economic measures failed because of, you could name them. The main thing was the drop in price of cocoa at the time.
All right.
Didn't have the kind of revenues that he thought he would have to be able to carry his plans. So you could find reasons for it, but the fact of the matter is, when there wasn't a lot of money in the kitty,
all right,
to do what needed to, you could and then come all the way forward. It is difficult to put your hand in any particular time in this economy in prosperity, and that to of what we're going to do be one of the oil has not been much quantity as we thought it would.
All right.
80,000 barrels, and we are now climbing up again to a point a little bit more. So we haven't had that era again. Not like we have pre-independence and independence where we had so much reserves as we had to be able to move forward. So you can have reservations on that. However, are we ready to do the right things in this? If we were, you would see it by now. But a lot depends on where you sit and where I sit in the equation. If you talk to any NDC state minister of government, they will tell you that they've put things in place and they are on course to achieve what they said they were going to do. It's difficult when you are in power to go and say, oh, we have messed up, it's not going to work. You don't say that. So they are doing what politicians will do all the time, and so they are going ahead with that. Now, from where I sit as an independent analyst, and from what I can see budget deficits, I can see I can see a lot of evidence, I can see a drop in macroeconomic indicators, I can see high inflation, I can see a CV that is depreciating very fast, I can hear and I see lots of corruption issues that we have to address.
You sound like a professor. Bad.
Because
no light at the end of the tunnel.
Those are the things I focus on. This week alone, my power has been turned off 3 times, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for whole days, 3 days at a time. How I'm going to cope, because I don't have a generator, and I don't intend buying a generator. It fix the problem. For 3 weeks. Others will say, what are you for 5 years? But I'm not them. You see, I'm not them. They have that problem.